So to imaginational confrontation, taking a perspective on what happens if a war is inevitable tomorrow morning and we are all in the reality of having to be confronted within a sudden war. One would not be able to common sensely be aware to handle in a way either than instead of chaotically running mayhem or havoc as panicking total chaos, which is absolutely not what I stand for as one democratical man who votes for democracy, who votes for life, who votes for what is best for all, including myself, who votes for a chance that we can give each other, who votes for the meaning of why democracy is so important. If we have lost the connection towards that I am, as an individual being, X, so to say, as including all beings on this planet at the moment, within the continuance of a frame of the system, as we are here all together in this same situation, self-confrontation within no fight throughout to stop abuse and to create something which is best for all, as including also oneself, of course, would make one awarely understand towards what this means. And this means to create something which we are all possibly aware to be able to do so, and this is to create a heaven on earth. And so to say, if one would rather stay in the continuance of imagination towards blaming those who say we are responsible, instead taking self-responsibility, one would consider to create hell on earth instead of heaven, because this would be an acceptance of all abuse and allowance and all abuse through a self-destructive effort of saying I'm not capable of handling within the systems and being able to confront myself within working what is best for all, instead of saying I cannot do anything within it because I'm too stupid, because I'm dumb, because I'm not able to do so, because I feel sick, because I allow depression, because I am practically not aware of life, and such to say I accept abuse and then I allow whatever it is what comes towards us in the here and now of the future, then considered to have given others the responsibility and to blame them. That, for instance, in a perspective of a war knocking on one's front door as towards all neighbors, would mean I've done nothing against it. I've practically separated myself through my own illusion of a belief system, but haven't actually taken the chance to save what's going down. This is democracy, practically in the system of a world economic system called capitalism. So to wake up and to take the first step is one's own individual choice to be taken, such as the choice is given, the time window is still open, and to given what is given towards all of us, a choice to decide which would be the best for all, as including oneself, or to deny it and to practically go into a state of believing to be alive instead of really becoming aware of what is possible. And this means to take self-responsibility and to be one's own self-honest, seeking, self-aware, self-confronting person who looks into the mirror and sees the reflection of the mirror within one's face, and to consider then to not be simply using the mirror as a reflection of oneself to look how beautiful or how ugly one is, because that's all in the measurements of polarization, which actually polarization's got nothing to do within life. It's got to do with physical, theoretical, physical science. It's not to be implemented into what is alive, because it's then systemizing what is not alive and creating a system which is a belief system, for example. So to be self-aware and self-responsible enough to confront oneself within not fighting oneself, instead of listening towards what is the difficulty of this one stinging point in one's neck, practically, that's been there all over one's life, these questions unanswered and so on, considering what it actually is that one has created unawarely, and is not to be blamed as a suggestion, because it is about confronting oneself within the measurements of, why don't I actually feel alive? Why don't I actually feel totally happy? Why don't I actually show my most intimate versions of myself, confronting the difficulty, of course, but the step one can take within what is the difference of self and ego. So the difference is quite, as I've researched it, of course, I can share this because I care for life, and I do not consider the point of confrontation equals fight. I consider to perfectionize myself further on each day, day by day, because I'm yet not through a process of having achieved towards a status which I'm not considered to be working for. I'm considered to be working to confront myself as becoming practically, within perspective, not taking any emotional reaction towards what I'm saying, is to work myself down to a point of zero, towards a point of nothingness within, to be able to confront practically these perspectives of versions of myself created through the ego system, which is practically holding this self as within me back, as to not being allowed to let self realize myself, rather than to further on continue the ego concept of many personalities, instead of manifesting what is possible, and that is meant within self-honest self-realization, as to create oneself, to recreate, and to really be able to understand in the first instance, and then to be able to work with that, and to practically become aware of being able to reincarnate within carnation, and having confronted what is the beast within the flesh, so to say, and having achieved the point of to be able to, on the one hand, work within what is the mind, question mark, and further on, what has the mind got to do within, who am I in the system, and to recreate practically a bridge towards self, to be able to characterize a character, which is then the self-realization point of, am I really myself, or am I the ego-based many personalities which I would only show towards those who I grant permission towards what is within the context of a system created by love and light, which would not allow what is then the opposite, which is the unknown, or being able to make something which is unknown a target to be accused, to justify and to be blamed, but it is still within the unknown. And that is considering the outer boundaries of which in the system of love and light creates this kind of blindness that we are all in, But able to wake oneself up means, okay, what do I do with it? I can share this within the measurements of the social networks which are available in the internet right now. And this means, what do I use the social networks for? Either ways to be abusive, or other ways what is best for all, which is then used as sharing through caring. And I continue in part 4.